Alfred Kinsey. He's known as the father of the sexual revolution, the founder of sexology, and the framer of modern sex ed.
Hello, I'm Dr. Alfred Kinsey.
Alfred Kinsey is the father of sexology.
Alfred Kinsey.
The Kinsey scale.
You can thank one guy for that, Alfred Kinsey.
While he's often portrayed as a self-sacrificing saint scientist, Kinsey was a bad dude who ran a bunch of bad boys. And I mean really bad. Kinsey was complicit in the sexual abuse of children. His own published works included data tables showing children as young as 2 months being, quote, stimulated to, quote, orgasm, while screaming and writhing in pain. He had this data on 200 young boys under the age of 15. But we still revere him and use his data, because being canceled is for statues and working class dudes who said a bad thing on Twitter, not child predators who did bad research. Kinsey may have done bad things, but that doesn't mean we can throw out his good data, because he didn't produce any. Kinsey's research famously found that people of the 1940s weren't following the sexual morals of their time. Which isn't surprising, because he oversampled prisoners, homosexuals, prostitutes, and other people living outside the status quo of that era, and then claimed that data represented the entire population. His data also suffered from the fatal flaw of being based on self-reporting. Who in the 40s is going to tell their sexual history to a complete stranger? Freaky people, that's who. You heard it here, but don't take my word for it. Abraham Maslow criticized Kinsey and refused to work with him for this exact reason. It's just bad science. And he got away with some other unethical stuff too. As PBS described, he hired a photographer to film volunteers and members of his research staff engaging in sexual activity. Porn! He made porn with his staff members. That's what that means. You know, for research. Kinsey purportedly found 26% of married women and 50% of married men cheat. That's 17% to over 50% of farm boys have sex with animals, and that pedophilic abuse isn't necessarily harmful to children. And many of these findings have been uncritically accepted, even though his research included obvious sampling biases and flat-out lies. Why? As humans will basically accept anything as true as long as it tells us we're good people. Whether you're a complete deviant or a relatively upright person, if you believe Kinsey's findings, you're gonna come away thinking, hey, I guess I'm not that bad. How does this affect us today? Well, one of Kinsey's most groundbreaking findings was that chastity is supposedly impossible. Speak for yourself, bud. Sadly, this kind of thinking entirely defines comprehensive sex ed curriculums, and that's no coincidence. Kinsey disciple Mary Keldrone founded SIECUS, and Kinsey's co-author Pomeroy, who openly advocated for incest between adults and children, by the way, was among the founding board members. SIECUS pioneered comprehensive sex education and still influences national policy on sex ed standards today. And it's all based on the assumptions of a man who was neither hero nor cartoon villain, a mere mediocre pervert and creep who did what any sick person in such a position would do: spread his disease. Don't let them spread it to your child. Parents across the country are pushing back against so-called comprehensive sex ed. Join the fight. Don't let people you wouldn't leave your kid alone with determine how they should be taught about sex.